I was asked to review this game by Cyberpunk Girl. Thank you very much for your request, and after looking at the page I saw it was a strategy-based card game. The closest I've got to using cards in a game is in Risk, which, funnily enough, is where the request was commented on, so I was pretty eager to give a proper card game a go and see what it was like. I will declare that the game is still in early access, and it's actually quite new. It was only released to early access on March the 26th. I'm tentative to do reviews on early access games just because I know they're still in development and my criticisms may already be being worked on. If I make a review on this and the final product has ironed out any issues I may mention, then consider my points obsolete. Any judgments I give on this game are entirely based on the way the game is at the time I play it, and I'm well aware that the game will most likely be better on release and in later development. Or hopefully it will be anyway. And of course, as always, my reviews are only opinion and you may disagree with me on any points I make. I got through to the initial sign up, put in my username, name, email and a password, and I was told I was sent an email with a link to verify my account. Except I wasn't, since 9 hours later and after clicking resend email 15 times consecutively nothing was showing up. But it's okay because it's not the game's fault, it's the fault of my luck, because somehow I just happened to try and sign up to the game during a window where the game server experienced a freak error that meant it wasn't sending out verification emails properly. Once the furious forces of nature were finished tormenting me because of that mirror I broke 5 years ago, I tried again to resend the verification email, and all was good and wonderful. They say on the discussions there are some email hosts that try to block them as spam, but they have got tips on how to get around that, so it should be okay if you find that an issue. The developer account is very active on the forums, responding to nearly all of the requests and threads started. So, to get some more information straight from the horse's mouth, I made a thread explaining that I was making a review and told them everything I said at the start of this video about early access, and asked if they had any kind of guidelines for the kind of things they were working on. As mentioned, a struggle with early access is not knowing whether your issues are already getting fixed, so I thought this would be a nice simple way to iron out that problem to a larger degree. There will be some elements of the future plans that may be different or that haven't been scheduled yet, but the Causa producer was kind enough to send me through this. The main features that they plan to implement are a ranked mode with match history, a draft PvP mode, a battle pass system, spectator mode, and mobile and Xbox One cross-platform compatibility. The Causa team have a Twitter as well, which they post links to in their discussions, and they do polls on what features should be prioritised and which ones people support and want to see in the game, so the community does have a fair amount of input into what they do. They also plan to implement more content into the game, more cards, more leaders with more powers, more pre-built decks, the rest of the campaign mode, and special card packs. This should give a good boost in diversity to the play as it will expand past the current 4 pre-built decks to a significant margin. They do also mention that of course these plans will change depending on technical issues and also community feedback, so if you are interested in the game it's definitely worth getting your hand in for the feedback and having a say in where the game progresses to. They were also really kind as to give me some free codes for card packs and crystals. The crystals are used to unlock the campaign mode as an entry fee, but the campaigns give you card pack rewards for each level you complete and has a special card pack at the final stage, and you can replay it at any time. They also gave me some 1 card pack codes that I'm allowed to share with you guys, so if you want to use any of those they will be down in the description for you. If you do decide to try the game for yourselves and have any issues or improvements with the game, then let the devs know in their Steam discussions. They're only 2 weeks into early access development, so feedback is essential for them. I joined the game into a tutorial. You can skip it, but for new players I highly advise playing it. There's a lot to learn and remember, but for strategy games that tends to be the case, and actually I found I'd picked up the game mechanics better than I thought. The game does walk you through things in chunks, and it actually explains the mechanics pretty well. There are a couple of things I still didn't quite grasp, like dedicating an active card, but I thought that over time and in actual games I would get to grips more with how it worked, and actually that was the case. I particularly liked the way the tutorial withdrew from you a bit. At first it was telling you what cards to move where so that it could explain the effects, but as you got through the stages of the tutorial the game would leave you to play off your own back until a new card mechanic came up. I wasn't fully sure I knew what I was doing, but the tutorial giving me that space meant that I could check and see if I was actually learning right. I'm not going to try and explain the whole game to you really, because that would take too much time, but essentially you have to put aside and play your cards wisely, matching numbers and using effects to your advantage in order to attack the enemy and win. The cards you drop into the charge zone on the right are not discarded. They can be used later on in the game, and personally I like using them as a backup if I'm getting mauled to try and win the game in clutch. Once you finish the tutorial, you can explore the actual game. There are several customizable features for your profile, including profile picture, banner, what the back of your cards look like, and you can acquire more of these through purchasing using in-game credit. You can see all of the cards you have available, and you can craft new cards and purchase card packs for more cards, also with in-game credit. The card viewer is a little buggy at the moment, sometimes the cards don't show up if you click around too fast, but since they plan on adding additional card varieties and special cards to the game, I imagine that the card viewer will need to be altered to make space for these additional cards. The cards you can play are split into various roles and rarity levels, presumably depending on the strength of their effects. The game will have a ranking system for the competitive, and it currently has missions to help you earn in-game credit. On your profile you have 4 experience bars: Glory, Wealth, Influence and Spirit. These align with the 4 default card sets you get, and you get experience in each card set when you use them in play. The game has casual, ranked, AI, campaign and custom play modes. As said, the ranked and full campaign haven't been implemented yet, but there are 2 campaign levels available to play. The campaign has a different setup, in that you don't use your pre-made card packs. You select 3 from a group of 6 at a time until you've made a full set. Mine worked well enough on the first level, but on the second one my opponent fatigued me out whilst clinging on with 1 health point. My deck was very mid-level heavy, with a few high-level hard hitters in there, but some of my best plays depended on specific cards showing up together too much, and it just didn't quite happen how I needed it to. There's good variety to the game modes, and you can still get experience from AI playing as well as with others online. The custom mode is simply you creating your own room for yourself and another player if you had someone else specific you wanted to play against. I played my first match with the Glory deck against an AI, and I was a little worried for some of it that I was getting slaughtered. My opponent had a card called Barosi Witch with the ability to gain attack every time I damaged them directly, and I went for the kill only for them to live and swing the counter attack on me. Luckily I remembered something important from the tutorial and managed to win it despite having no protection. The game is very good at explaining stuff since there are a wide variety of cards. In fact, the game is so good at explaining things that it actually contains a glossary of the terms it uses on its cards so you can understand what they mean. One of the mechanics is a leader's decision, where every couple of card levels or so you unlock a choice between 2 things. If you don't know what these are, then you can see a preview of the thing you can choose if you hover over it, so you know what you're picking. You can also see the abilities of your opponent as well, simply by clicking on their cards and leader's decision options. One of the things you can also buy with in-game credit is new leaders for each of your sections. Different leaders have different leaders' decision options. Some need higher charge before you unlock all of the levels, but the payoff is better, so even your choice of leader can make a big difference to your capabilities, and there will be more added to the game in future. I tried to do some more AI practice, but then accidentally added myself into a casual online game. You do have to wait a bit sometimes for a connection, but it's never more than a couple of minutes, and actually all of my casual plays have connected in under a minute, so it's not bad to wait for a connection, even in the early days with a smaller player base. This may vary depending on time and region. I can only speak for myself on this one, so take it as you will. I was using the Glory pack and my opponent had the Wealth pack. I was a little intimidated by all of his status changes and bags of supplies he had next to him, giving him loads of cards, but somehow I just about managed to survive and win despite him seeming to dominate me for most of the game. Sometimes the game is just the luck of the cards. I played an influencer match, started off with 3 cards I knew I would be unable to play, tried to swap one of them out, and it gave me the exact same card. For the next couple of rounds, I kept being given either status effect or event cards, which you need an active player in the field to use on, or cards that were too high level for my charge. Because of that, I just had to try and charge up whilst my opponent mauled me half to death, but by that point it was too far to try and claw my way back. You can also be pretty quickly outclassed if your opponent has more card packs than you. I played against an influencer player, and they were slinging out cards that I'd never seen before, so I'm assuming they bought more card packs, and they absolutely minced me with them. At the most basic level, I would say that the Glory set is the most likely for you to win against any of the other 3, and the Wealth and Influencer packs are probably the weakest. But if you start adding larger card variety in, then that does level it out, and it even flips. The Influencer pack focuses more on card expenditure, making your opponent die from fatigue rather than attack. On a basic level this is hard to do because the Glory pack, for example, has a lot of attack cards, and you often get directly attacked too hard before you can wear them down. The Wealth and Influencer ones are more status effect focused, and their warriors in the field often have decent defense but weak attack, which means attacking directly can take twice as long, and it's harder to destroy your enemy's attacking cards. I'm sure you'll probably find your preference for which playstyle suits you. However, to get around this, you can create your own custom decks. This allows you to choose which cards you want to use. So if you find in the default deck there is a card that comes up that you find useless more often than not, you can create your own deck without it in. And actually you may find some cards in your stores that you didn't even realise you had. As you buy and earn more card packs, you'll need to start using custom decks because the default decks are set and will not contain your new cards, so you won't get to use them if you don't make a custom one, or so I assume. I can be corrected if wrong. I like the animations, the backgrounds are very scenic, and all the artwork is nice. The smashed glass effect on your player as they take damage is a nice touch as well. The sound effects for the card battles are good and very satisfying, and the background music is nice and just the right volume. If you're interested in the game, Causa have a YouTube channel called Play Causa. The link is in the description. They show previews of their updates and they stream the game, so you can check out more of the content if you want to keep an eye on how the game develops over time. All of their social media links are available in the game, and as said, they can also be contacted through the Causa discussions page. I'm not going to give this game a numerical review because it's not finished and the number would have no standing since things will change, but I can say it's a very good strategy game. It's got good prospects, and yes, there are missing features at current, but it's still got enough to it for me to be able to get several hours of play out of it comfortably. It's a lot to learn at first if you're not used to games like this, but if you take your time with the tutorial and read everything, you'll find you pick it up very well, and after that everything is fully explained. You can hover over any card or ability on any side of the match to see what it does and help you with your planning. Even if you don't think there's enough at current to be worth you getting the game, I think it's still worth just keeping an eye on it and seeing how it's progressing. It's visually appealing, the mechanics are good, and I definitely recommend checking it out.